Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we are going to talk about the next content that should go onto Dungeons and Dragons onto D&D Beyond partnered content section. All right, so first of all, let me just define this real quick. So, DM's Guild is not partnered content. Partnered content is a different segment. So, if you go onto D&D Beyond and you go to view all sources, you will see every Dungeons and Dragons canon hardback listed there. And they're listed in two sections. They're listed in the Dungeons and Dragons section, and then they're listed in the Dungeons and Dragons partnered content, which is below the core section, right? It's all canon. It's all D&D canon, right? And we know that because the partnered content section contains Explorer Guide to Wildmount. That is as canon as it gets. It's a printed D&D canon hardback, red ampersand on the side, right? So that is right next to Dungeons of Drakenheim that has never been printed, never been printed with the red ampersand. But they're both D&D canon at this point. That's incredible. That is really incredible. And they are freely mixed in the builder, right? So I cannot stress to you enough how important the D&D partnered content section is. In my opinion, it is there at 100%. The reason it's there is Sean Merwin. So Sean Merwin he is very, very missable, right? Like, I don't think a lot of people know who Sean Merwin is. He's partners in crime. He's partners in creativity, let's say it that way, with Teos Abadia. He does a lot of work with Teos Abadia. And together, the two of them worked on an actual D&D canon hardback, which is Dungeons & Dragons Acquisitions Incorporated, one of the strangest D&D canon hardbacks that exists, right? And get this, that's not partnered content. It's listed above with the other material. It's very strange. Truly odd what is considered partnered content and what is not, right? Like, so what should be brought? So, okay. So I'm extremely excited about, I'm extremely excited about D&D partnered content. And one of the reasons why is why each thing is there. So why are each of the items on D&D partnered content? There's three reasons right now why things are listed under D&D partnered content. Three reasons, okay? One, first and foremost, is Matthew Mercer's content, okay? So this is Explorer's Guide to Wildmount and Call to the Netherdeep, right? These are both considered partnered content, and they are there for absolutely no reason other than the following, in my humble opinion. They're there to build the relationship with the best dungeon master in the world, Matthew Mercer. Also, Jeff Bezos' best friend, right? Like, the guy that brought Dungeons & Dragons animation back to TV, right? Gary did it in 1983. Matthew Mercer did it in 2023. So Matthew Mercer is literally like Gary Gygax in that he brought an animated D&D show to television. Gary did it in 1983. Matthew Mercer did it in 2023. They're the same guy, right? Like, it's just they're doing the same thing. So Matthew Mercer is this incredible talent. He is the best dungeon master in the world, bar none. And his content is in partnered content because Dungeons & Dragons realizes that there has never been a better banner carrier for Dungeons & Dragons than Matthew Mercer. And Critical Role serves zero purpose beyond promoting Dungeons & Dragons, right? So they want a very strong, sound relationship with Matthew Mercer. Totally understandable. That's why those two books are there, okay? Now, there's one other book that has a special reason why it's on partnered content, and that is Flea Mortals. Why is Flea Mortals on Dungeons & Dragons content, right? On partnered content? Subjugation, right? Matthew Colville has been growing a real community, right? And he announced that he was going to compete with Dungeons & Dragons with his own MCDM RPG, right? Dungeons & Dragons have been doing great with partner content, and they went over to Matthew Colville and they're like, bend the knee, sucker. You are not an independent creator. you've gotten really big for your britches, but the reality is, hey, we'll pull your stuff over here. We'll put it on partnered content. We'll sell it. But the whole reason that this is here, right, is you need to be subjugated. We're like Matthew Mercer can pretend to put out a game that's going to compete with us, but we don't need to worry about that because the person who's building it is Spencer Stark. And Spencer Stark has already proven that any game he delivers is going to be DOA, right? So Daggerheart is not going to actually be a real competitor, but you, Matt Colville, you might be, right? But listen, we'll take your little indie project over there, Flea Mortals, and we'll make it D&D canon. Is that enough for you to give up? And Matt Colville was like, yes, right? That is my opinion of what there were many, none of those words were said by either side, but that to me is the shape of the conversation, right? And the reality is Matt Colville, I think, did quite well for quite a while, but the idea that Matthew Colville had the wherewithal to build something that would compete with Dungeons & Dragons, there's no way, right? However, he's so talented and he's built such a good community that he absolutely deserves the crown of D&D canon. And that's what that is. Like, when you become a D&D canon author, you gain a crown that very few people in the world have. I don't have that crown, right? Like Matthew Mercer has it. Matt Colville now has it, right? Before he was just some indie creator. Now he's a D&D canon author, right? It's a different level of fame and honor within our sphere, right? So that's really fascinating, in my opinion, that we arrive here, right? And so relationship, subjugation, in my humble opinion, that to me, that is my depiction of the shape of that conversation, right? Like, none of those words were used, of course, right? And both sides played nice, right? And that's the thing. They're because Matt Colville spit fire about D&D for a long time, right? But now he's just in the stable, right? He's a horse in the stable, just like Matthew Mercer. At the end of the day, you don't compete with somebody who actually carries your product, right? And so basically, but nobody's trying to subjugate like Matthew Mercer. Matt Colville was a real threat, I think. He's been tamed at this point, and he's not a threat anymore because he's a D&D canon author. He's simply in the stable at this point. He's off the board, right? So those are two reasons why things go onto partner content, in my humble opinion. Other people would disagree, right? And then let's talk about the third. The third is all Sean Merwin. Every other piece of product there is there because it's the best 5e content. It was all built to be compatible with 5e. 5e is going away the second the 2024 core rule books emerge, right? And actually, when I say 5e, there are people who even understand that there's a distinction between Dungeons & Dragons content and 5e content, right? Sly Flourish has talked about this pretty extensively, right? So I'm not really referring to D&D 5th era content. I'm saying 5e, which was distinct. And so basically everything else, right? Humblewood, Dungeons of Drakkenheim, Grim Hollow, many other products, right? The reason they're there, right, is Sean Merwin. And what did Sean Merwin did? He in Grim Hollow, in the Grim Hollow product, what he did was he had already been, so Sean Merwin, he has his stamp on the Grim Hollow product. What Grim Hollow really is it is a template in saying, hey, if you're an OSR or an indie, if you're an OSR or an indie product, if you meet this level of quality on layout, writing, and design, then you can be brought in, right? And he just set the template. And that's exactly what Dungeons & Dragons did. That's exactly what Grim Hollow did. That's exactly what every other piece of content up there. They simply met the quality standard that Sean Merwin defined, right? And I truly believe partnered content exists because of Sean Merwin. It wouldn't exist, and the reason why is there wouldn't be enough product to put under that. It would have just been this tiny little section. All right, you guys have been incredibly patient. let me actually get to who should be actually added to the partnered content section. All right, thank you my apologies there. So who should actually be put into partner content? Index Card RPG. It's in its second edition, and Index Card RPG 2E, the Master Core rulebook, and every single compatible adventure should be brought into D&D, partner content, and immediately become D&D canon. You're like, wait a second, wait, hold up, Scott. That game has a completely different rule system. Yes, it does. You know what that rule system is? It's what would happen if you took Dungeons & Dragons, threw it in a stew pot, and boiled it down to the marrow. Index Card RPG is the marrow of Dungeons & Dragons. It is Dungeons & Dragons stripped beyond the bone, straight to the marrow, right? You're like, wait a second, Scott. You're saying bring an additional rule set into D&D canon? Yes. It is extremely risky, right? And so I understand that the suits, and this is my official request to you, Hasbro, please bring in Hanker and Farinale's Index Card RPG 2nd edition and every single compatible product from the Index Card RPG. Now, why should Hasbro do this? First reason. Index Card RPG is the best the OSR and the Indy has ever produced, bar none. In writing, layout, and art, period. End of sentence. It is phenomenal. It has an incredible community, which would snap right into D&D, right? And it would really surge Dungeons & Dragons forward significantly in game design, right? And in my humble opinion, Hanker and Farinale would do it in a new. Actually, he would think about it for 24 hours. I think when he got the call, he'd be like, wait, what? Right? Like, because it would shock him, and I think it would shock the entire industry. And he would take 24 hours to think about it. And then I think because he loves being epic and doing brave things, he would do it. And I think it would change the world of Dungeons & Dragons, and it would change the world. And the reason why is it would mean that different rule systems could be D&D canon, right? And again, right now, make no mistake, I'm convinced I'm the only person on the planet who understands this, right? Dungeons & Dragons is picking winners. Dungeons & Dragons has become the Oprah of the OSR and the Indy. D&D partner content has made the entire OSR and Indy industries nothing but a farm league for D&D. And I think going forward, you're going to see everything and anything is going to be hyper compatible with Dungeons & Dragons. Because if you make it on your own, you shuffle off, you make a tiny bit of money, and you know you're never going to make it, right? But if you make it compatible with D&D, highly compatible with D&D, you can get anointed and be brought up to the big leagues, right? This is a big deal. Hanker and Farinale is a genius. I really think this is what should happen in the D&D partner content. Hasbro, I'm officially requesting, as a member of the D&D community, that you add Index Card RPG and every compatible product to partnered content. And the way that I would ask you to do that is make a good offer and a special offer. I think he deserves more than anybody else is getting, except maybe Mercer, right? Like, I get it. Mercer is a special case. Everybody understands Mercer is a special case, right? But give Hanker and Farinale an offer that's much better than Matt Colville or anybody else on even Merwin stuff, right? Give him a good offer, something a little extra, and I really believe he'll take it. So every single word you just heard is my humble opinion, nothing more, nothing less. I really want to hear your humble opinion. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider subscribing. Have a fetch millennium.